Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Yona of the Dawn, chapter 194, our first Yona reaction. Yay! When we last left our heroes, we continue Yon-Hi's flashback, seeing her discovery of the execution of the priests after they learned the secret of her bloodline, how that led to her mother's suicide, her conflicting feelings for Yuhan, which are all very interesting stuff, and then we jump 9 years into the future, seeing Soo-Won already born. We learn about Ill's marriage to Kashi, Yona's mother, who was one of the child priests who escaped execution, but ended up with a really bad burn on her face. And yeah, that's all kind of where we left off in 193, so let's jump right on into chapter 194. We open, I guess, somewhere in the castle. Say, everything has gone well with the delivery, right? Yes, mother and child are in good health, I was told. This is Yon-Hi and Yuhan. Lord Il must surely be elated. It's a baby girl, and they have named her Yona. We have to send them congratulatory gifts later. Yona? So yeah, here we are with Yona's birth. That's a good way to start off the chapter. I heard she's got red hair. Quite rare for a baby girl. Chapter 194, Red Blood Obsession. Okay, I've gotten one minor spoiler for this chapter. Or maybe major spoiler, I'm not entirely sure. But I have a feeling I know the extent of the obsession of the title. Anyway, I think this is Yon-Hi, who turns back like an attendant. Soo-Won ended up leaving his quarters again? My apologies, we're looking for him now. Gosh, that kid's like those cats who are gone 1 second and back in the next. I'm used to it. And someone else comes in. Lady Yon-Hi, Lord Soo-Won is... Have you found him? And she sees he is being, brought back in by a seemingly angry King Il. Which is... I mean, it's a little bit of the fervor and furor we saw in Il at the end of last chapter. Which is quite the contrast to the kindly old Il we've always been shown, even in the earlier parts of this flashback. But anyway, Lord Il, and Yon-Hi runs up to them, and Yon-Hi kneels down. Soo-Won, what were you up to? I went to see Yona. You went to see her? He entered Kashi's room. This is Il. It appears he slipped past the guards, but I should beseech you to be more careful, lest this child gets close to Kashi and Yona. That's some threatening lines there, Il. My apologies. It's been 1 year since Yona was born. Kashi hasn't shown herself in Lord Yuhan's presence or mine. Even within the castle, only a few people ever get close to Kashi and Yona. Why is that? And this is Soo-Won. When I was a little boy, many people came to see me every day. I think Yona would have more fun that way. And Il just kind of looks away. I get an unpleasant feeling from this child. Oh, that's... Wow, Il, I'm rapidly rethinking my opinion of you. I mean, sure, Soo-Won would eventually grow up to kill you, so maybe it's kind of in bad taste to criticize you for not liking your future murderer, but, he's a 4-year-old right now. But Yon-Hi just kind of looks up at him in shock as Il turns away, and one of the attendants, how can he talk so coldly to such a small kid like Lord Soo-Won? And Yon-Hi looks down at Soo-Won. Soo-Won, did you do something? Yona's red hair was so fluffy and cute that I gently stroked it. When I did that, Lady Kashi took Yona in her arms, and Lord Uncle Il drove me out of the room. And the attendant, heavens! How heartless of Lord Il. Lord Soo-Won is a noble who'll be the crown prince one day. And Yon-Hi thinks, Lord Il is on his guard not only with Lord Yuhan, but with Soo-Won too? Even though he was so gentle to a small kid. And she flashes back to the Il of 10 years ago, back with the younger Kashi and Iksu. Which, yeah, there's definitely... I'm imagining, because as Yon-Hi says, there's 9 years where she had no contact with Il. And I'm guessing something happened related to the death of the priests, because it's been very established that Il is very religious, and Yuhan is very not. And I'm guessing, especially because he married one of the priestesses, that's gonna be the trigger, the fulcrum of of Ill's change. But anyway, Soo-Won asks, "Do I give off an unpleasant feeling?" And Yon-Hi just hugs him. Did Yona find me unpleasant too? I hugged him tight and said that wasn't it, but my words didn't seem to make an impression on him. As time went by, while Lord Yuhan became busy with matters of war and government, Kashi slowly started showing herself in the gardens with Yona. And one day in the garden, Yon-Hi finds Kashi talking with, that's Iguni from the Fire Tribe. That's Taejun's mom, right? Oh yeah, because she did say that she knew Yona's mother back in that arc, the Sen and Tully arc. What a relief. Kashi has friends then. And then Yon-Hi thinks, let's call it a day and not get in their way. Soo-Won, mother, Soo-Won, we're going back? And we see Soo-Won is up hiding in a tree. Kya! Soo-Won, what are you doing? I'm getting down now. And he jumps down. I had a lot of fun. And we see, I think that's a young hawk jumping down behind him. So where did this boy come from? His name's Hawk. Yep, there we go. Hawk? And Soo-Won goes on this long rant about how he met Hawk. He said he's grandson General Moondok of the Wind Tribe. It seems he's come to a council of the 5 tribes. He's in front of the entrance to the gardens and was lost and invited him to play. Hawk's so awesome. He climbed the tallest tree like it was nothing. Yada, 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 yada. Not going to go through all that. Soo-Won, calm down. And Yon-Hi comes to, squats down and talks to Hawk. If you're lost, we'll take you to Lord Moondok. I'm not lost. Besides, I didn't come along. He brought me with him. He isn't lost. He was taking a stroll. Sorry about that. Hey, Mother, may I play a little more with Hawk? And Yon-Hi thinks, he's never had children of his own age to befriend in the castle, right? And then she finally says, fine, but since climbing trees is dangerous, and then someone interrupts her, Lady Yon-Hi, it has been a long time, Lady Yon-Hi. Iguni. Forgive my tardiness in paying your ladyship my respects. I failed to realize you were in the garden and incurred such an unsightly rudeness. No, it's fine. I was... Iguni, don't. Just ignore I'm here. Because Kashi and Yona are over there. And Kashi rises, and Yon-Hi looks at her. Is it okay for you to approach me? And Kashi comes over. For me as well. It's been a long time. I apologize for my rudeness. Kashi... and we see the young Yona, hiding behind Kashi's robes. Which I guess is the first time Hawk and Yona meet. And Yon-Hi looks down at Yona. When I first set eyes on her, my legs almost gave way on the spot. I don't know why. It's just that beautiful hair caused me to remember the existence of the Crimson Dragon King, who started to fade from my memory. So yeah, we're seeing, of course, her blood, her... relation to the original Hiryuu reacting to his soul reappearing in Yona. Most likely, at least. Which is not... It's similar to what the dragons felt upon first meeting Yona, but not quite to the same degree that they did. Because they're also reincarnated souls, and she isn't. Anyway. Kashi leans over. Yona... Good afternoon. This is Yona speaking. Good afternoon, Yona. I'm Yon-Hi. I'm your father's older brother's... Oh, Yona? And then I think this is Soo-Won, who'd come over. Wow, you've grown so big, but I recognize your fluffy red hair immediately. Soo-Won, wait. I'm your older cousin Soo-Won. And he walks right over to her. And Kashi looks at Yon-Hi. Lady Yon-Hi, it's fine. Thank you. And then Soo-Won drags Hawk in. Yona, this is Hawk. And Yona just stares at Hawk. She hates me, doesn't she? She's just wary of people she doesn't know, right? And Hawk points over to behind him. There's a cat in this garden. Want to see it? I saw it when I climbed the tree. A cat? There was a cat? I want to see it. Yona, cats are fluffy and cute. And this is early. This is the earliest interaction of the Yona Hawk Soo-Won trio. And God, they were so cute as kids. It's a shame that everything that happened afterward happened. And Yon-Hi turns to Soo-Won. Wait, where are you going? We won't leave the garden, so And Hawk grabs Yona by the arm, and like leads her on. And Kashi sees that and grabs Hawk. And Hawk just like looks at her, kind of questioning. And Kashi is like eyes wide. And there's this like awkward pause where she doesn't really know what to say or why she just grabbed a 6-year-old. You protect Yona, okay? And Hawk just stares at her for a moment, confused. Then the three of them all go off together, try to find the cat. And Yon-Hi watches them. They're just children. I wonder whether they'll be okay. Maybe I should tag along. Kashi stops her. It's okay. We can see them from here. Today, nothing bad will happen. And Yon-Hi, like, that's kind of a, that's very certain term. I'm trying to find the right word for what I'm getting at. She's very confident in that, despite not really having any evidence one way or the other. And Yon-Hi just, like, looks at her kind of silently. And Iguni says, Lady Kashi is truly an amazing person. She says things a soothsayer would. For example, what she said right after Lady Yona was born. She said, this child has white and blue and green and yellow guardians by her side. So that's... Is she some kind of psychic? Or can she just, like, because she was a priestess for the religion of Hiryuu, she knows that her daughter is Hiryuu. I don't know. And that would mean, and Kashi stops them. It's a delusion. Pay it no heed. And Iguni just kind of, a delusion? But that time, too, Kashi, and we see a flashback. I feel the same, Lord High Priest. I feel that the Crimson Dragon King's blood flows within this person. She's reminded of when Kashi recognized that she was the descendant of Hiryuu. She sensed my blood. Lady Iguni, Lord Soo-Jin has called for you. Soo-Jin was the father of Taejun and was Koga the older brother? God, how am I forgetting that? After all the time we spent with the Fire Tribe. I think Soo-Jin was the original general who, tried to kill Soo-Won and all. Anyway, Iguni, please excuse me. I have to go now. And Kashi looks up at her. Iguni, thank you. I had fun. And then that just leaves Yon-Hi and Kashi alone. There's this moment of awkward silence where Kashi says, Lady Yon-Hi, the children seem to have already opened up to each other. They're cute, aren't they? And Yon-Hi doesn't really respond to that, but says, Kashi, when you and Lord Il had just gotten married, Lord Il said he was happy. Are you happy? I think the reason Lord Il said he was happy was that he'd been blessed with a red-haired child. And Yon-Hi's kind of confused by that, but that was before Yona was born. Did you already know a red-haired child was going to be born? Kashi, what do you see? And then there's this whoosh of wind. Everyone's future except mine. And there's the translator's note that says, she really said people's future, but I adapted for effect. Alright. And that's kind of what I had gotten spoiled. That Il had known in advance that he would have the red-haired child. So yeah, that's all of my knowledge going in. The future? Starting as early as I can remember, I was a child who could see and feel things that the eyes failed to see. The High Priest alone graced me with his sympathy and understanding. He taught me these were important matters that gods wished to convey. When I was blessed with that child, I had the impression the power grew ever stronger. It was Lord Il who saved me from the temple in flames. That day, between Lord Il and me, I felt something similar to a red light descend. We see, Il save her from the flames. I asked him, I wish you to make me your wife. If you do so, your wish will come true. And Yon-Hi looks at her. A red-haired child? Lord Il's wish? So hold on. Does that mean that Il was wishing in advance, before he ever met Kashi, to be the father of the reincarnation of Hiryuu? Is that what Kashi is getting at here? That Il had some desire to be this religious, not the savior, not like the second coming or something, but like be the one to bring Hiryuu back into the world, some kind of religious catalyst for whatever great change he imagines Yona will bring. I don't know. And I'm thinking about all of this in terms of also through the lens of that flashback, the glimmer of a flashback we've seen a couple of times from Soo-Won about him meeting with Il sometime before Il's death, and Il telling him that you will not be King Hiryuu, which of course we know that Soo-Won doesn't really care about that now. Whether or not he did at the time is a whole other thing. But with I think Il probably meant that line through the frame of Soo-Won is the descendant of Hiryuu, and maybe Il thought that Soo-Won wanted to be king as some kind of restoration of the Hiryuu bloodline or something, and that Il thought that Soo-Won saw himself as a second coming. I don't know. Lots of mysteries to peck out here because the series is so meaty. Anyway, Kashi, that child, Yona, what is she? And Kashi said, or I think this is Yon-Hi still, what Iguni said earlier about her having white and blue and green and yellow guardians. It's as if the Crimson Dragon King. And so all of a sudden Yon-Hi reaches that realization and it shakes her. What's this about? Yona, why? Why now? Your daughter is... What is going to happen? And Kashi comes up to her. It's not as if I can see everything. What I know is that child will cause the 4 dragons to gather once again. The 4 dragons? They've been waiting for that child to come. You can't mean... isn't that strange? Yona isn't even a descendant of the king. That child is the Crimson Dragon King. What about me? And Soo-Won? What on earth is my family? Oh, I wasn't even thinking of, if the reincarnation has nothing to do with the bloodline, how is that going to shake Yon-Hi's entire worldview? I don't know. Anyway, we have a flashback of, I guess this is really early in Yon-Hi's childhood. Yon-Hi, you are the child of a special family that inherited the blood of a god. Those who remain must protect that gift. Mother, tell me, wasn't there a meaning to protecting our blood? And at this point, Yon-Hi's on all fours. And Kashi tells her, even though I can see the future, all I can do now is to support Lord Il and fulfill my duties as that child's mother. What do I do? That's what she thinks, what she says. Same for me. Living for the sake of Lord Yuhan, and of Soo-Won, that alone is what guides me. And yet... But am I to do? Kashi, can you see my future? My head aches horribly. I have contracted the illness. This part is internal. Oh gods, I beg you, please, just Soo-Won. Spare him from this pain. That's not gonna go well, Yon-Hi. But also that means that Yon-Hi, despite having the illness, stayed alive for at least 13 years? I'm guessing Yona's around 3 right now, and she's 16 by the start of the series. And at least Yona believed that Yon-Hi was still alive. Whether or not she was or not is a whole other question, but I'm assuming so. Which means that Soo-Won still has a long time to live, right? Unless, Soo-Won's probably 20-ish now, right? And Yon-Hi in this scene has got to be at least in her 30s, at a bare minimum. She has she got married at least a decade ago. The whole incident with the priest was a decade ago. So she's probably in her 30s. So, and maybe Soo-Won got unlucky and contracted earlier, or he definitely did. But Soo-Won should still have a long life ahead of him. I don't know. Anyway, you beg? You only pray when it suits you. Didn't you burn all the gods to ash? So, I'm trying to... Who is this? Hiryuu himself talking to Yon-Hi? Apparently blaming Yon-Hi for the death of the priests, even though that was all Yuhan. But anyway, then some time passes. Maybe this is Yon-Hi's consciousness, or conscience, blaming herself for what Yuhan did. I don't know. Anyway, Yon-Hi, how are you feeling? Oh, this is Yuhan. I'm fine. Don't overexert yourself. Your body is weak, after all. After that, the headaches would come and go repeatedly. 2 years passed. If it stays like this, I can endure it. I hadn't told Lord Yuhan that the Crimson Illness had started its course. After 2 years, you should tell your husband that you're dying. But then she looks out the window, and she sees Soo-Won and Yona playing together. And she looks at them, tired. Lord Yuhan? What? Lord Yuhan? Oh no, so this is an attendant who comes up and tells Yuhan something. What? He tells him something. What? And Yon-Hi looks at him. Lord Yuhan? The old man has collapsed. They say he's on the verge of death. Continues in the issue of August 20th. Alright, good news. Only 2 weeks till the next issue. And I imagine this flashback is nearing its end. Just because we've gotten Yona's birth, we've gotten a lot of murkiness to Ill. Whereas Ill before this flashback, I always kind of seen him as good-hearted, but fundamentally just like inept king, who wanted what was best, but didn't have the guts to like actually take action on anything. Here, he's very scheming. He's, desperate for some kind of religious significance, and maybe that's just, the aftermath of his faith being destroyed by his brother. He wants to, revive it, or to, if he's all that's left, to be something big. I don't know. I don't quite have the words for what I'm getting at. But there's a lot to Ill we don't know, and I want to get more into Ill now. But yeah, this flashback is going great. And part of that is just because it's the one flashback I've seen in years that actually placed its flashback not in the middle of anything else. Like, there's a little bit of stuff going on in the present arc, but the present timeline is kind of in a lull right now. But is what makes this the best time for a big flashback arc like this. Anyway, my subtweeting of Butler aside, chapter itself provides a lot of interesting things to get at, as I've kind of been digging into all video. Both with Ill and how much he's, like, again, desperate for this kind of religious significance, of how Yon-Hi is taking, I'm fascinated with this idea that Yon-Hi is broken by the fact that her family has come to nothing. That, her family has suffered for so long under this disease because of Hiryuu somehow. And in the end, they don't even get the reincarnation. The reincarnation comes from some priestess and the royal family. And honestly, a part of me, I don't think it's a coincidence that her learning that and the Scarlet Disease come at the same time. I think that, that shook her to her core so much, it allowed the disease to take its course. Which also then invites the question, I think. Because I was talking earlier about how much younger Soo-Won was when he contracted it. But what if it requires being shaken to your core to activate? For Yon-Hi, I mean, it's learning that her family's legacy was nothing, that they suffered, and then the reincarnation was some random royal. And for Soo-Won, but then what would it be for Soo-Won? My guess is killing Ill, but we'll have to see going forward. I don't know. Again, so much good shit to dig into here. And now Junom is dying. He will presumably anoint Il as the next king in the next chapter, whether it's anger over the execution of the priests, or some other reason he has to put Il in charge. I doubt that'll be a popular decision because we know Il is not terribly well liked. But yeah, there's just so much good shit going on here, and I cannot wait to see how this flashback all plays out. So I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you all enjoyed the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, or, do whatever makes you happy, And remember, your life is your own, okay? Bye!